Okay, so today we're going to talk about online acquisition community portals, and specifically we're going to talk about Ncma National Contract Management Association's Collaborate portal. Fed Data Check is a portal and for the federal contracting as well, and we've recently implemented a point system that I want to go over. So when you contribute to the Fed Data Check site, you get awarded points like you do on Ncma Collaborate, as we'll see. And WIFCON, we're in federal contracting. I'm just going to mention this. I've been on there and I've done some searches on there before, but I didn't review the site for this webinar, but I thought I'd mention it. I'm going to go over these. I think most of you know who I am, and I'll go over the company and some other things we do at the end of the webinar for those interested, because it's the same thing every time, just about. If you have any questions, please raise your hand. I'd love to have you voice your experience with these portals too, if you have any. The reason why we keep people on mute is that we can get a lot of feedback otherwise. All right, let's talk about Ncma Collaborate. And we're going to get out on the site and take a look at it. Now, one of the key things to keep in mind on Ncma is you do have to join the National Contract Management Association to have access to the Collaborate portal. It's about $150 a year. First, it could be more the first year. There's a $25 initial fee, or it could be less if your agency has a group membership. So, but that's the ballpark figure, $150 a year. And let's see what that gets you in terms of Collaborate. So I'm going to push this over to the side, and let's just get on the site and take a look at it. All right, so I'm going to go to http://www, and it's not Ncma, it's ncmahq.org. Ncma is like the National Concrete something. Let's see what Ncma is, ncma.org. Yeah, the National Concrete Masonry Association. So if you're there, you get there, you forgot to type in the HQ. All right, I'm going to log in. Incidentally, I want to do a poll. Let's see if I would be interested in how many of you are members of Ncma now. Yes. So let's save that. Okay. And now I should be able to launch that. We don't have any members so far. Oh, we got an Ncma member. At least one. Most not, though. I'll give it. Okay, that's good. So the vast majority of you are not Ncma members. I joined. So but again, to get access to this Collaborate, what they call the Collaborate portal, membership is required. So I'm going to go ahead and log in. Okay, so now I'm logged into the site, and to get to Collaborate, I laid this out in the PowerPoint deck, which I will send you tomorrow. But you go to Connect with Peers, Collaborate. So here, as the name implies, it's a way for you to get your contracting questions answered. Say if you have a FAR question, you can respond to other people who have questions. You can connect to other contracting professionals, similar to like LinkedIn. It's kind of LinkedIn for contracting professionals. They have a point system down here below that if you do contribute a lot by posting questions, answering questions, contributing to the document library, they'll recognize you for that. You can find other members in different organizations who are members of NCMA. I do have a question here. I don't see anything on the screen. That's because I'm not showing the screen. Thank you. Thank you, Madison. Okay. Phew. All right. Good. So I just went to NCMA HQ. I don't think I showed you that, but if you go to ncma.org, that's the National Concrete Masonry Association. That's not what you want. You got to put HQ after it. And then once I was there, I went to Connect, Collaborate. Okay, so what I want to do is go through and show some basics about how you would use Collaborate, why it's important, what benefit you could get out of it, and just like Madison did, if you could raise a question or raise your hand for a comment, that would be great, particularly if you've been on Collaborate before. But one of the first things you want to do once you get your NCMA membership and you go to Collaborate is check your profile up here in the upper right. I'm going to click on that. I'm going to go to Profile. And a lot of people I know are on LinkedIn, and you can import your biography, your education, and your job history via your LinkedIn. You just click on that button, you type, it's going to ask you for your LinkedIn email address and password, and it'll suck that into Collaborate. And this is important because it joins you to communities based on your organization and your education. There's a Virginia Tech, as well as where you live. I think there's a Virginia Tech, but it's certainly where you live is one. And yes, there is a Virginia Tech one, as well as any other college. Okay, so that's the thing. Pull in, if you have LinkedIn, pull it in. Otherwise, go ahead and edit, give a brief description of your what you do, work-wise, your education, job history. You can also add these social links. So I mentioned that Fed Data Check has a channel on YouTube, and they helpfully provide links to that. So you can link to your YouTube channels from within your Collaborate portal. You can also link, they also provide a handy link to go to your LinkedIn page. So bottom line, when you go to their profile, my profile, fill out your basic biographic information or pull it in from LinkedIn. Okay, the next one here is these My Connections. Let's see what that was there. And when you go to Contacts, this is where you can, like LinkedIn, establish contacts with federal professionals. So it's easy to get in contact with them, send them a message. Similar to LinkedIn, creating your own inner circle networking. And you create these contacts, as we'll see later, through the directory menu option. On terms of the networks, I mentioned once you pull in your profile, they'll automatically hook you into a college if you put that down where you live. So you're automatically a member of some communities based on your education and your physical location. Virginia Tech, so who are the three? So those are the three people I may know who are also Ncma members. Apparently they put down Virginia Tech as their background. No, actually it would be these three here. Actually, I'm not sure which ones these are Virginia Tech. So, you know, I can't say I'm an expert on using Collaborate, but I think you get the point. They'll suggest and automatically enroll you in a network of contracting professionals based on your business biography, education, and who you work for. Okay, communities. These are the forums, the technical forums. I went ahead and joined the proposal managers. I'm not one, but really the only forum that we'll see, they have a bunch of them. As we'll see, but the only one that's really used. You see, this one has 15 discussions, 15 posted questions on this one. This one has 1,600. So 15 versus 1,600. Open forum is really the only game in town right now on Collaborate. So if you want to post a question, respond to a question, engage with the contracting community on this portal, open forum is the place to do it. So that's everything under my connections. Contacts is going to come later. Networks, they automatically enroll you in them. Communities, the only game in town right now is open forum. You know, one of the neat things on Collaborate is they keep track of your contributions. So if I went to, as you see somewhere, how I got there is I went on profile. I'm going to hit on summary under contributions. And this is what makes it the term they used is gamified participation on the portal. So in terms of engagement and engagement is and contributions are the way to earn these points. And I posted the document on how you get these points and what they mean. I guess we can look at one here. So here's the criteria for getting engagement points. Best answer. If you're voted the best answer on a thread, you get a point. If they give you the opportunity to write a blog, and how many times it's viewed is tied to points. There's also, for posting questions, is on here. So participation in the forum, blogging, responding to forums, how many times you upload a document to the library is going to increase your points. Contributions, I posted a document that I'll send you tomorrow. It's also on GoToWebinar and I'll send it tomorrow that explains this in more detail. But, you know, if people are answering a lot of questions, taking a leading role on the portal, trying to help other people out, you know, collecting points and being recognized for that contribution is nice. What have I done? I've asked 2 questions, so I guess I got to get more. Start working a little harder on the portal, get some more points. List of contributions. So here's where it would list how many times you've uploaded a document to share on a library. Say you have Actually an interesting one would be definitions of debarment, partial completed, pending, voluntary. That would be something interesting you could post up to the library, and if so, it would be listed under a contribution, and you add to your point total. But it gives you a list of what you've done and the questions answered, question posted, so on. Okay. Under achievements, actually I skipped over that. These ribbons and badges, badges is an upcoming feature. Ribbons is, you'll notice if I go back to the Ncma HQ and I go to Collaborate, and I'll go to the bottom and see the star performers down here, Donald Shannon being one. If you click on his name, you see these ribbons over here. So he has NCMA certifications, certified professional contract manager, right? Certified federal contract manager, if I got those acronyms correct. Fellow, that's an award he's received from the NCMA. Silver contributor based on how well he's doing in answering questions and participating on Collaborate. So it'll show you ribbons here. Badges is an upcoming feature, not in use at this time. On my account, the big thing is, when you establish your network, you send a question, send a message to somebody in your network, you post a question, and it gets responded to. Check your inbox. And your email preferences would be another one to set, So the key thing there is, if you do join a community, then you're going to start getting some emails from that community unless you opt out. So you can control the volume of your email traffic. All right, so that's the profile. Let's take a look at, if I go back to Ncma Collaborate and I go to the communities, I can look at all communities. And you can see here that commercial contract management, 2 contracts, healthcare contract management, 1 discussion, job, career. So there's not much really in activity except the open. The open forum has a lot of activity. So I know that and let me see this. Let me do another poll here while we get started. And we'll launch that. How many people have been on the NCMA? Of those who were members, has anyone else used the Ncma Collaborate portal? By the way, the answer to the last question was about 20% of you are Ncma members. 80% were not. Okay, I'm not seeing too many on that, so there weren't too many. Nobody responded that they've actually been on this portal. I did come on here and I posted a question on the requirements to compete, awards for commercial item acquisitions using if the type of contract pricing was time and materials. Actually, let me see if I can search, see if I'm on here. Yeah, so there I am here. I just typed in my name and it gave me the list of questions, the list of threads, also known, that I've been associated with. And the nice thing, when I did post this question, it was a pretty, holy smokes, I didn't realize, I haven't been on here in a while. Here's my original post. It really generated a lot of, I got to get back on here and read some of these answers. But the nice thing on this post was I did get FAR-related specific responses. So my question was, one of our most controversial checks is on Fed Data Check is if you have an award, if you're doing an acquisition for a commercial item, and if you're using time and materials or labor hours pricing, then it must be competed. So I cited the FAR, what I thought was the FAR and the statute associated with that. And here's that Shannon guy who was one of these people came back with a, see, so here's a pretty in-depth response. And I felt people really, here we go, Donald Mansfield. He said, take a look at this FAR part, and so on and so on. So it was, I felt like and he's a certified federal contract manager. He's a professor. So I felt I got a lot of good information, or at least a lot of good leads to track my question down, rather than just a general, well, that's not what we do. That doesn't really help if you're trying to really find out what's allowed and what's not allowed. So that was my experience, at least on that one. So that's communities. So the idea is, where do you get your questions answered? Where do you respond to others? And it seems like a job and career that might be nice at some point, but the only game in town right now is the open. Okay. The other, so we went through your profile. That's where that gamify concept, you pull in who you are, give it this, so you expose to the community the type of work you do and what agency you're with. You collect those points through adding to the libraries, document libraries. We can go through that. Actually, so here, if you go to the form, here's the library, and this is where you would upload it. Maybe, as I understand it, I was recently informed that they're contemplating adjusting the micro-purchase threshold and the simplified acquisition threshold. So when that comes out, that would be a helpful document for someone to upload and share with it via posting on the forum. Okay, they do have a member directory, and there are some quirks to this. So that is, if I search for, let's say I search, I know we have some people from HHS here, so I can search for HHS, and let's see if I can find any members. I find quite a few. DHHS, I don't know who, CMS, Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. So DHS I found, a lot of them. Let me go back to the search here, searching for a company. Let's say I search for NOAA, National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration. Boom, a lot of people for NOAA. So far so good. I'm finding, now I could also just search for OAA. It could be any part of the string. Anywhere, starting in the middle or at the end, and it's going to find NOAA. Now here's an interesting one that how about the Department of Interior? So if there's a bunch of people from NOAA, there's a bunch of people from HHS. Interior is a big department. There's got to be someone from Interior. There's nothing. Okay, well maybe it's DOI or something, or some other spelling. So I'll just search for int. I get a lot of int, but no interior. Take my word for it. Anyway, so what's going on here? You can only find members, NCMA members, by the company or agency if that company or agency has a group membership with NCMA. So I'm an individual, Potomac Wave. If I search for Potomac Wave, there's nothing there. So that's a little quirk that they're working on to try to I'd say that's more of a bug than a feature, but that's what they're doing there. So if you type in something, say, wow, that's weird. There's nobody from Interior, or there's nobody from, how about Agriculture? There's nobody from the Department of Agriculture. Wow, those are two huge departments. That's because Agriculture does not have a group membership to NCMA. And I mentioned another quirk is with the company, you can type in NOAA and it'll find it, or you can type in OAA and it'll find it. On the last name, it'll find it if it starts with the string. So if I type in it'll find Hartford, and then I could, let's see, if someone was a member here, who was a member? If they could raise their hand, I'll search for them on the thing here. I know some of you said you were members. Could you raise your hand if you're an NCMA member on the? All right. So I'm going to search for Jolson. All right, there we are. And then what I can do is, so you see where it found Jolson. I could also have found her through JOLS. But unlike the company search, this is not going to return it. See, it all begins with O there. So here we go. Let's do this. And I'm gonna, here's where you can, how about I'd add as a contact? I'd like to invite Alana to be a contact, and you can send a message. Hello from the FTC webinar. So, a good way to build your professional network. All right, that's it on Ncma Collaborate. We went through your profile, giving some background as to your professional, educational, and you can also tie in your social media links. They have a gamified that will give you points for contributing. Build up your network through connections. Control how many emails you get. Open forum is the only game in town. Find some other members. Now, NCMA has also offered. Let me do one more poll here. Would you like a soup to nuts webinar on Collaborate by the NCMA staff? So they may have, I think we covered it pretty well, but they did, I'll run this by, they did offer to do this, so I'll see what you say on this. So the NCMA, the person in charge of Collaborate, has offered to come in and answer anything and everything associated with the, I'm getting some background noise too coming. Whoop, I get like a ding. If that bothers people, I don't know what that is. I'll have to. Not many people have voted on this one. I get some no's in there. Maybe actually, I think NCMA is a great organization. We go every year to the World Congress and have a booth. Maybe that makes me biased, but maybe getting them on and explaining the benefits of their membership and their portal and everything else. Actually, that does sound like an interesting idea. Most of you seem to think so too. 2/3 anyway. Okay. Let's get back to let me get back to my PowerPoint. So we went through Ncma Collaborate. Now, I'd also like to talk about Fed Data Check. So we've, actually I thought about this before I checked out Collaborate, was coming up with a way to recognize contributions to our website through a point system. So we've had a lot of people come up with new ideas for data checks, new ideas for new reports people would find interesting. I know I ask people a lot about FAR questions. Someone will come back with one of our checks and say, well, what about this? And I'll email a bunch of the Fed Data Check primary points of contacts and ask that they take some of the time out of their day to respond to a technical, in-depth FAR question. So there's a lot of ways people have been contributing that we haven't recognized, and we'd like to start doing that. So I think we've made a good start at it. So just like Collaborate has their points to gamify, it's the first time I've heard that term today, to gamify participation on their portal. We did the same. We have the same thing on Fed Data Check, FDC points. Your total points are shown when you log into your agency's Fed Data Check site. So if I go to, I will close that. So if I go to Fed Data Check, http www.fedDataCheck, and I'll log in as labor. So now I'm logged in as a labor user. I would come down here and I would click on the labor icon. Now your points are going to show there. Let me lower that. See, there we go. So it's going to give you your login ID and how many points you've collected. And then you can click on the points and you could see what you got your point for, or points. In this case, if you log into the website once a month, we'll give you a point. And then here's some other ways to collect these FDC points. Website usage, we went through that. If you just, every time you log in, at least once a month, we'll give a point for that. I would like to have people use our site. Webinar attendance, another way to gather points. Far in-depth discussion, I mentioned that, where we're sending out questions on that we get and need clarification on and see what the group thinks. Here's one. Here's a big one, new data check. So, and we're going to get into that. You can see how that's, I kind of categorize this by how valuable it is, at least from our perspective. If you come up with a new data check idea, a new way that you see a pattern that contracting officers and specialists are making a mistake. Again, I'm sorry for that background noise. If you're hearing that, I don't know what that is. I'm going to have to check into that. It's some sort of bell. If you hear it, my apologies. But that's very valuable for us. And, why is that? It's because our emails go out to about 15,000 to 20,000 COs and CSs. So if you could come up with a new pattern that people are making a mistake in FPDS and G on, or something they should look out for, that has a tremendous benefit, both to us, making our product more valuable, and to the contracting community. And a new report generator. We have people coming in requests asking for new analysis. Recently on the service contract inventory, if any of you are familiar with that. That's, again, if we could get it up on the site, and that way more people have access to the analysis and the information. Okay, so that's the points. When you log in, it'll automatically be calculated, and tomorrow we'll load up the webinar participation. Nothing you have to do. We'll keep track of it for you, but you can see how you're doing. I mentioned valuable contributions other people have made and continue to make, so we now are showing that both through the point system. Oh, and by the way, once you get to, just like Collaborating, just like many other sites, you know, if you get between 10 and 19, we'll give you a bronze level participation, color, silver, gold, super. I had to come up with something above bronze, silver, and gold, and I came up with super purple palladium. And there are a few of those out there too. Okay, so if you go to the data quality dashboard, and you could click on page 7, listing. And this lists all of our data checks in numerical order. And we used to list what agency came up with that check. It started at the Department of Homeland Security. Most of these are from a guy by the name of Dave Capitano, who's a federal official who's now retired, and he's on our advisory board. We've come up with a lot. These are some old, not old, but these are checks that came up long ago. These are former DHS federal officials. All right, so I know we have one celebrity on with us now. So right here, one created by SEC, one of our newer subscribers, urgency awards that exceed 1 year. So if I'm logged on as labor right now, I could click on that. And yellow means it's an active award. Let's go out and take a look at it. Okay. Now, right now it's showing that it's not lasting longer than a year, but remember that this is mod 7. So how long has this thing been going on? So this started back in September 2016. You know, it's 2018 now. That's, how long is that? That's over a year already. Let's take a look at view. And if I come down to right here, the reason why this was not competed was because it was urgent. And it's lasted, it's been, by the time they finished, it's been going on 2 years. Let's go out and take a look at the FAR, 63022D. Where's the year? Alana, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. Let's just see where that was there. 6302D1, 6302D1. II. There we go, right here. So unusual and compelling, 6302D1 II may not exceed 1 year, including all options. unless the head of the agency determines exceptional circumstances apply. So what did they do here? What is this for? How much money is it for? Wow, maybe this is one of the cases. Maybe the HCA did do this. I guess it's possible. OWP, Central Bill Processing. But, you get written up, you can, and it has happened that you get written up by the GAO for saying, I couldn't compete it was urgent. It was just one of those exceptional circumstances. And say, okay, well, why can't you get so it's so urgent, you can't get a contract. Why can't you get a contract in place, a compete one, within a year? It's going to take you 2 years. Wow. So I'm not saying that wasn't the case here. It could well have been. It could well be that they simply miscoded that. But what's the big picture when we're talking about these points is, here's somebody made a contribution that is now from the SEC, and now the labor is able to take advantage of that insight, as well as our 12 to 13 other agencies, although 12 only use these data checks, now have the benefit of that automated knowledge, so that when their COs cross the line on that urgency award and period of performance, they get an email and abide by the FAR, which is a pretty complex document, as you know. So, kind of a long-winded explanation, but you're the people who have the certifications, the training, who deal with this day in, day out. We sure appreciate it if you spot a pattern, pick up the phone, call us, shoot us an email. It only takes us about half a day or maybe a day to put these in place, and it really has a big impact in terms of helping educate the federal contracting community as to what's permissible, not permissible. And I think I've explained it. Any comments? Anybody else have something? Okay. So that's a big one. If you come up with a new data check, given the tremendous impact that has, we'll give you, I'm trying to just relative, 25 points. Getting on these webinars, we really appreciate. These webinars are great for us. Helps us outreach and stay in touch with people. And it also gives us, spurs us to stay on top of the site and keep adding to it. I think improving it. Okay. And we'll check these. Just a fun way to do it. Hopefully. And we'll come up with more ways to get points as we go along. If you go to page 7 on that dashboard, which we just saw. So if I'm logged into labor, I hover over data quality, I click on data checks dashboard, click on listing. These are all the people who've contributed to a new check. You can see them right here on the right. Some of these earlier ones, a lot of them did. I remember the name. I've only started kind of the new era, the 100 plus is when I really started tracking them. And you could also see them on data check descriptions, which gives you, page 7 gives you an abbreviated description of what they're about. This is more expansive. If you scroll to the right, again, you'll have the agency here, the year it was put into place, and then here are their names and email address. If you have a question about a check, I presume they're not going to get bombarded, but I'm sure they would appreciate your feedback or question as to if you had one. Or you could also send it to info@feddatacheck.net. Okay, let's see here. I mentioned this. I'm not going to go through it, but there is another one. Okay, I got a question here. Any thoughts about giving points to folks who correct their data checks or fill out exception forms to incentivize taking action on checks? Now I'm not sure about that idea of correcting their data checks. I'll have to think about that. But filling out an exception form is worth a point. I agree with you on that. Those exception forms are, the last thing you want to do. We just had one. So those exception forms were when we send you an email alert asserting that there's an inconsistency or a FAR discrepancy in a contract action report in FPDS&G, you fill out an exception form and say, in this case, that's not correct. We get those, such as maybe, the HCA did approve an award that was originally not competed due to urgency and is now lasting over a year. Hey, I don't want that to count as an error because I did get HCA approval. We've had those. But the key ones are we get them back and there's something wrong with the check. It needs to be refined. I know one was, we were flagging people for putting down an award as being subject to the SCA, the Service Contract Act, right? See which check that was. 90. This legislative mandate, this one, labor standards, used to be called the Service Contract Act. We would say you shouldn't have put that because the award was only for $5,000, and the Service Contract Act threshold is, what is it? Service Contract Act threshold is $2,500. So we would come back and we'd ping them and say you shouldn't have put it down because that award was only for $2,000. But then we got a data check exception form back saying, hey, I can't change it. That value propagates from the IDV. Yes, the delivery order is for $2,000, and yes, the Service Contract Act applies because it applied at the IDV. So that was a way that we knew we had a problem with a check that we needed to go in and correct. So data check exception, that's a yes for a point. Thank you on that. Okay. I do want to talk about, let's see, WIFCON. Where in federal contracting? I'm just going to point out that it's there. I've been on there and I've done some research on a topic and it seemed pretty good. It's been a while since I've done it. I put WIFCON, W-I-F, where in federal, W-I-F, contracting. And there you go. So they got all kinds of stuff, discussions. You can post a question. Yeah, I haven't really used the site that much. How many people have? Let's see. I'll launch that one. Oh, a lot of people using WIFCON. Interesting. More people using WIFCON than looks like than Ncma Collaborate. So, one of the advantages of WIFCON over Ncma Collaborate is it doesn't cost you anything. So, WIFCON, we're in federal contracting. And I see a lot of people are familiar with this site. What did I put on that? No membership fee, form another I didn't get a chance to really dive into it. So, okay. All right. In review, Ncma Collaborate. So that's a I thought it was great. Just state-of-the-art portal for getting your contracting questions answered, contributing to the contracting community with documents, FAR update documents, answering questions, get your points, ribbons, soon to be badges, networking. Pretty slickly done. Fed FTC points. We want to recognize the people who are contributing to our success, which we really appreciate, and we weren't giving them the recognition they deserved. So I think we've taken a pretty good step towards doing that. With we're in federal contracting. Just FYI, I didn't get a chance to really dive into that. That's really it